Let's hit the high road. Let's hit the high road. It's the first touch, strong connection. It lays deep in your soul. Feel the kindness strongly coming, 'cause you can achieve your goal. Let's hit the high road.
Hi, it's Nancy Urel, and welcome to Nancy's Psychic View on the high road to humanity. And I have a lovely lady here today. So, Dr. Judy Suzanne Reis Tsafrir is here, and welcome to the high road.
Thanks for having me, Nancy.
I'm excited you're here. You guys, I always say this is a cool book, but Sacred Psychiatry. I mean, if you're watching me on YouTube right now, I'm holding it up. So much cool information in here. And I'll just preface this with saying, and I want to read this, far too many their experience with conventional psychiatry likely consisted of suppressing symptoms with pharmaceuticals, all without being considered as a whole person. It's probable that there is little exploration of the power of the sacred to promote healing, which is especially crucial in our current climate of widespread fear and disconnection. And man, brought us such good information, and we're going to talk about that today. But before we get into it, you guys, I'm really excited about my class on Saturday. I want to invite everyone to join me. I'll be teaching people how to connect with God, how to connect with source, how to connect with spirit, whatever verbiage you use, that love vibration, also to the earth energies, as well as to your guardian angel. I'm also going to teach you a lot of the practices that I use, my daily practices that keep me centered and joyful and balanced. And this is really important stuff. So go to my website, nancyyearout.com. It's a three-parter. We start Saturday, the 13th of April, the 20th and the 27th. It's an hour and a half. Please join me. It'll be live on Zoom with me. So I'm really excited about that. Now, let's get into this wonderful book. You know, Dr. Tsafrir, I want to know, tell us your story, because I guess I'm so curious. I'm so like, wow, she gets it. You like totally evolved from this person who went to school to learn, psychiatry, and then you evolved and said, no, this isn't how it should be. Tell your story.
Well, it's interesting to me about how you began about describing about connecting to the sacred realm and to the spiritual, because
Mhm.
I do believe that that is like a key component of healing that is missing from the conventional medical psychiatric approach. So I went to medical school, I became a psychiatrist, but I was never exactly a conventional psychiatrist because most psychiatrists don't have a lot of training in psychotherapy. And I became also a psychoanalyst. And so for more than 20 years, my practice was intensive psychotherapy and psychoanalysis. I was talking to my patients primarily as my healing modality. Um, I never prescribed that many medications, though I did prescribe. So when I was 49, I had three young children, and my marriage ended, and both of my parents died all within 3 months of each other.
Wow.
And that was like a crisis. And I was just kind of putting one foot in front of each other and in front of the other. And I decided to consult an astrologer for the first time.
Yeah.
And that wasn't entirely as foreign to me as it might be to a lot of people, because my dad, who was also a psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, uh, was also very interested in astrology, but he kept it a big secret because of fear for his reputation.
Isn't that so?
Um, yeah, but I was familiar with it. I was familiar with him talking about it. I was familiar with seeing astrology magazines around the house. So when I was in this time of this confluence of losses, I decided to consult an astrologer. And it was so amazing talking to her that I went back to see her multiple times. I wanted to look at the charts of my children. I wanted to look at the charts of my um, ex-husband to be. wanted to look at the charts of people in my family. And eventually I decided that I wanted to be able to read charts and do astrology myself. So I
Mhm.
joined an apprenticeship program with a well-known astrologer, Stephen Forrest, and completed that with him, and then went on to study with a second well-known astrologer, Maurice Fernandez. And that was kind of the gateway to a kind of spiritual opening, studying astrology. Because, I mean, astrology, I know there's a astrologer who I like a lot named Emily Trinkus, and she says astrology is an apprenticeship to mystery. Because
Mm.
if you see that astrology is a system that has so much amazing information to help us understand ourselves and to understand what's going on in the world. And it makes like no sense in terms of what is rational, what is measurable, what is commonly considered evidence. Then you have to acknowledge that things are connected in ways that we don't understand and that there is a great mystery going on that we are participating in.
Right, right.
Um,
I
so
want,
I then, okay, go ahead.
no, I just want to interject really quickly because what I got out of this is you kept going back because what she was telling you was resonating with you.
Totally.
I guess I want to, yeah, and that's really why you kept going back and why you decided to do it, because you realized, and this is what I feel too, and I think it's so cool that you do this, but we'll talk a little bit more about astrology. I feel like it gives us a little insight of who we are, why we're here, our connections to the other people, and then we kind of look at things from a different perspective. You know what I'm
Yes, I would agree with that. I mean, it's really sort of a paradigm shifter.
Yes, it
Uh,
is. It is. And I'm sorry, I didn't
and
want to interrupt you, but I just feel like you kept going back and you wanted to do it because you felt like it was helping you. It was helping your dynamics of the family, basically.
well, and it was helping me make sense of things and helping me make sense of the world and of
Yeah,
it just was a body of knowledge that I could appreciate as extremely valuable.
right. Now, I want to ask you something because there's been a lot of conspiracy theories right now. I know you don't have all the answers, but I want to ask you these questions because I want to know. So a lot of people have come out and said, okay, I've seen two suns. You hear the conspiracy theory of there's another planet out there. And then I wonder, is my chart off? I've always thought was an Aquarius, but then I talked to somebody who said, Nancy, you're really more of a Capricorn than you are of Aquarius. And so to me, there's a lot we still don't know. And I think there's some things that may have been hidden. And what have you found? I guess, you know what I'm saying to you? Like my charts aren't like right on. It seems like there's a little off, or are our years messed up? I've heard that too, that maybe our calendars, are so off. What do you feel on some of this stuff? I'm just curious.
Well, I mean, there's different systems of astrology.
Mhm.
Like there's Vedic astrology, which is the Indian astrology, and that's more based on the stars and where the stars are, like at this point in time. It's called sidereal. And Western astrology is based on the tropical system. It's based upon not where the stars are at this moment because things have moved since, I guess, the system was at first created with but we go by the seasons on Earth. So, um,
You see my
I mean, if
confusion
you
a little bit? Because there's a lot going on right now. And then we've got this eclipse, it's just been kind of
right,
crazy.
well, what I'm talking about is not going on right now. This is just two existing systems
Right. I
that
understand that. I
that
understand.
have a lot of validity.
Right.
And there is a tremendous amount going on right now. Apart from that, I mean, I don't see a conspiracy myself, but there is a tremendous amount going on. I think we're in a time of transformation and a time of
Oh.
an old world dying and a new world being born, but I don't see it as a conspiracy. It's just this is where we find ourselves in time.
Well, and I guess, there's been so many people, and I don't want to get stuck on that, but there's been a lot of people, have showed pictures of two different suns and different things like that. And I don't know if I want to say conspiracy or maybe hidden because, they always worry that humanity can't take it. But yes, we are evolving. And I feel like the earth energies are evolving. And as we evolve, the more connected we are to the earth energies and to the energies above us, the better off we are, because of that. You do talk in your book. I want to just kind of talk about some of the stuff that's in here. You talk about altars, which I think is so awesome because I think everybody should have an altar. You talk about smudging. A lot of people use sage. Some people use, we were talking just different things. You talk about essential oils in here. So you cover a lot. Um, what kind of brought you? Did you want to just kind of let everybody know about some of the energy of these different things, or what was, your reasoning behind all of this, bringing it forward to people?
Well, just like I started saying in the very beginning of our conversation and what you led off with, that you are offering a course to help people connect to a spiritual dimension of themselves and a spiritual dimension of existence.
Mhm.
And that is particularly necessary for people in terms of healing, but also at this point in time that we are on the planet when there is so much fear, as a result of the rapid rate of change that we're going through. Um, so people need strategies to create resilience. And one of the biggest strategies for resilience is having a spiritual practice. So all of those things that I mentioned are part of ways that people can connect to something more than their small self and their isolated uh, atomized existence. They can feel connected to the universe. They can feel connected to nature. They can have a more expanded sense of the self. And that is the reason for describing those different kinds of practices that are helpful for that.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that you do. And I agree. I mean, I have an altar and I tell people to have an altar. I teach the same thing, it's really good. You have a sacred space. It's really just a space. It's really interesting. I always tell the story. I sit at my table, my kitchen table, and I'll light my candle, I do my little thing, say my prayers, do whatever. Everybody has their thing that they do. But it's really quite interesting because when people come to the house, I clean everything off the table, but they'll sit in that spot because
Mm.
that's where I bring in the energy. And so they
Mhm.
energetically are drawn. It's quite interesting to watch it, which
That is really interesting. And I like the way that you cleaned it off because sometimes people can like create an altar and they can kind of set it and forget it. And then it sort of doesn't have the energy. Like an altar needs to be tended. Like you need
Mhm.
to like put fresh flowers out, or you need to put some different objects out, like whatever moves you, just keep it as like a living, organic, developing space.
Yeah, exactly. And I love how you talk about smudging. A lot of people, I'm from New Mexico. I was in New Mexico for many years, and the Native Americans use sage. We use white sage, and they also use sweetgrass. And that took me a while to learn about these things. But what it does is it just takes the negative energy out of your house. And I think these are things that we've not talked about. It's so cool that you put some of this stuff in your book because I feel like it's bringing maybe the psychiatric practice, to spirituality, which is really, I feel like where it should be.
Well, I mean, that's a big missing piece.
Yeah.
The conventional paradigm is simply to identify symptoms and suppress them with pharmaceuticals, and there's actually practically an allergy to the sacred.
Well, I have my own feelings on this, but I love how you talk about when you talk about astrology, but you say you quote astrologer Austin Hopak. He describes this time as though the old world is undergoing an etch-a-sketch eraser process. I love that. That's so great
Mhm.
because that's what it's like. We're starting over. We're really starting
Mhm.
over. I really like that. And then you say, and I want to bring this to the audience attention, in her book, she says, never in 35 years of private practice have I witnessed events in the external world having such a profound impact on the well-being of my patients and influencing the contact of your work. I mean, so what's happening now? People are just like fearful. They're coming into your office. Can I ask
Well,
this in
I think
general?
a big thing is that we're like in the aftermath of the pandemic. I mean, we never lived through a pandemic in my lifetime.
Mhm.
That was something that affected everyone globally. And there's just so much fallout from that. And I mean, we can act as though we're kind of returning to business as usual, but it doesn't feel to me like that. It feels like there was before COVID and after COVID.
Okay. So that's how the patients are when they're coming in. There's still an effect, is what you're saying, on people from COVID.
Right. And like the degree of political divisiveness and dysfunction,
Right.
I mean, it's
It's
not
crazy, isn't
like
it?
it's not like it was like wonderful previously, but it's reached a new level, of dysfunction.
Right.
Um,
Well, and something's got to give. Something's got to give. And I'm going to go back to what we talked about in the beginning when I was talking about my class. The reason I'm teaching this, my mission is to teach people to connect. And I think you're doing the same thing with this, bringing the spiritual in, because the only way, and I can only speak for myself, that I stayed centered during COVID is by connecting to God, to the divine source, by grounding. And if I don't ground, I'm totally up in the air and out of. But these things keep you centered, balanced, and healthy too.
right, absolutely. I'm totally with you. And there's a third thing that maybe should have been mentioned first, because I actually think it's the most important thing,
What?
that we're at a time of unprecedented danger in terms of our ecosystem and our environment. Like there's a collapse of the biosphere going on with the massive, extinction of species and kind of unprecedented storms and fires and uh, all the modeling
Yeah,
about
I'm with you.
predictions.
I'm with you, but I want to tell you what I think on this one, because I've done a lot of research, because I'm teaching people to connect with the earth energies, and this is what I feel. And intuitively as well. I feel like the earth, and I look at the earth, it's a living entity, and I feel like she's shifting. And as she shifts, because she is shifting and we're shifting, there's going to be earthquakes, there's going to be, tornadoes, there's going to be that kind of thing. But I don't think it's a negative shift. I feel like it's the positive shift, but it has to be done. Does that make sense? That's what I really
Well,
think.
well, I mean,
I don't know. That's my feeling.
I, I mean, my feeling about it is that given that people will not voluntarily come together in order to treat the earth in
With
a
respect.
respectful, loving way that is not exploitative, that there's going to need to be some kind of dramatic situation that forces the situation. And in that way, it is inevitable and good. But it's, I think, going to be, and already has caused tremendous suffering.
It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Mhm.
Before people wake up and start to pay attention to what's going on. I want to you talk about Pluto and Capricorn and Aquarius. In March 2023, Pluto began its move into the sign of Aquarius, where it remains for the next 20 years. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? What people can
Yes.
expect? Yeah.
Well, I don't know what they can expect. I know what are kind of archetypal themes that would be associated with Pluto and Aquarius. I mean, we already see it, that technology is going to completely transform our way of life.
If we
You
let
know,
it.
well, I mean, it's
I know.
I think,
It's frustrating for me. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. It's just frustrating to see it. That's all.
uh-huh. Well, I mean, it can be used for good and it can be used for, you know, dystopian ends, like there can be a lot of surveillance and control and invasion of privacy and but it can be used, to like develop new ways of, caring for the earth or caring for each other or, having like a more humane society. It could be used in that way too. But technology is changing things. I mean, it medical technology is changing things. Like it may be that our lifespan is going to be way longer than it ever was due to medical advances. I mean, we just can't anticipate what is going to be the result of this technological advance. It's so it's going to alter just the way everything is done. It already is, but it's going to even exponentially increase.
Mhm.
And like Capricorn, the sign of Capricorn, where Pluto was since 2008, is much more an archetype of hierarchy.
Mm.
So it's, there's paradigms of control and domination and power coming down from the top. And Aquarius is a much more egalitarian kind of energy, and it's a much more collective energy, the will of the people. Um, so I think we can anticipate that. Um,
Yeah, this is a point where the people, I feel, need to get together as community and stand up for humanity. And
right. Well, community is Aquarius. I mean, so
uh,
that there is a lot of support for community action.
yeah, that's what I feel. I feel if we could just band together, and I think we've just lost our respect for each other, for humanity, respect for the fellow man, respect for each other. That's got to come back. That's got to come back. Where we look at each other as we're souls instead of as what color we are, what we do, what we have on, what we own, that type of thing. I think it's
Yeah, I'm with you
got to
there.
get to, yeah, it's got to get to soul level. I believe. And I did jot down here the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was between 1778 and 1798, the American and French Revolution. And you put that in your book. A lot of cool information in here, you guys. A lot of good stuff that you put in here, I thought. And you talk about, yes, the involvement of humanity. You talked about astrological work with your patients. You also talk about children, and you talked about your youngest son. I thought this was interesting. Maybe you'd share some of this with us. You say cancer, 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 and more cancer. I'll let you tell the story. Tell us about that.
Well, each of my children, I mean, I feel like one of the ways that I've learned the most about astrology is by knowing my children and knowing their horoscope charts. And each of them has like a very pronounced concentration of energy in different signs. So my youngest son has like 5 planets in Cancer. And so then you learn about the archetype of Cancer because you know your child. And I mean, Cancer is a archetype that in our, like in terms of like a culture of toxic masculinity, uh, that can be a difficult archetype to have so heavily in the child who's male, because he's very, very sensitive.
Mhm.
And he's his like way of his way of going after things is indirect and kind of like a crab going sideways towards it. He loves to nurture, which is much more associated with the feminine, um, conventionally or traditionally gender roles. Like he loves to cook, he loves to feed people.
Wow.
Um,
Cool.
he's it's so if you know a person well and they have a strong concentration of a particular kind of energy in their chart, you learn about that energy.
Mhm. Now, I've noticed more children coming in. My grandson is intuitive also, similar to what you're talking about with your son. And I've noticed a lot of children have come in. I think they're here at this time. More empaths are here at this time. More empathetic people are here at this time. Are you seeing that in your practice as well? More empathetic people?
I can't say that I have seen that,
I
I have
have.
seen that. Uh-huh.
I've seen it. Well, you know what? I've seen it on my show. So many people who come on the show are, if they're intuitive, well, everybody's intuitive, but there's a lot of empaths that have come on. A lot of people, um, I think, are recognizing how energy is how they're affected by the energy of other people. You even talk about it in your book. I love that you talk about energy vampires in your book because you want to address that because the energy of other people, like I went to get my hair done yesterday. I hope she's not watching today. But she does a wonderful job. She was having a bad day. And believe it or not, when you're an empath, it just affects you so tremendously. And then you take on, even though you do everything you can not to take it on, you still take it on a little bit. And it's hard to
Oh,
stop.
I completely agree with you that energy is contagious. I mean, I do think like I don't feel like people are more empathic, but what I do feel is people are more open to things that are unseen than they were previously. So
Okay.
like there's more openness to astrology, or more openness to the tarot, or more open to energy work,
Right.
like
Right.
Reiki. I mean,
Right.
all of those kind of energetic modalities, that was like so, I mean, just
Taboo. It was
e-
taboo, right? Back in the day.
even things like meditation, it's become like brushing your teeth. It's like
Right.
so common, but that was not, that's relatively new, that is so much part of our culture. Like there's this tremendous openness to the energetic.
Yeah. Well, I think we're starting to realize that we are these energetic souls in these bodies and that we are energy. I really believe, and I say this on my show all the time. People are probably tired of me saying it, but I just feel like eventually, we'll just they'll be able to look at your energy field if you have anything wrong with you because the disease sits in your energy field. And so it's more emotional, I think, than anything. And I think we're just really we're evolving, we're learning who we are, and that we are these energetic souls and that we are affected by other people's energy, and to stay away from people. It's hard too, I will say that, because I've had to do this myself. It's hard to distance yourself. You really don't want to in a lot of ways, but you have to kind of like do it for your own energy field.
Right, to protect yourself if you feel like there's
Mm.
people who, when you're in contact with them, that you feel depleted afterwards or drained or some kind
Yep.
of way toxic. I have a practice that I try to remember to do every morning and every evening because it's like energy hygiene. Like
Yes.
I'll beat my drum and I'll say, I ask that any energy of mine that has been left elsewhere be blessed and transformed and returned to me. I ask that any energy of mine that is in my field be blessed and transformed and sent back to whom it belongs.
I
You know,
love that.
so so that you keep your energy field as good shape as possible.
There is possible, yeah. And yeah, I have practices too, and it's taken a while. And I've, you learn more and more as you go. I also want to bring up the paleo autoimmune protocol, only because I have Hashimoto's, and I know a lot
Oh,
of people have either Graves' disease or lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. It's interesting. It's always God always brings me people when I need them. I've got really bad arthritis, and I've been looking like, what am I eating? What am I eating that's wrong? And you must see this a lot in your practice to put it
I
in.
do tremendously, tremendously. There's so much connection between like what somebody would see a psychiatrist for, like depression, anxiety, brain fog, insomnia, so much connection with autoimmune illness. And that's all mediated by inflammation, and very often people who have autoimmune illness have, like sometimes they have food sensitivities that are triggers,
Right,
and if they identify them, they can feel a lot better.
right.
But, also, people can have environmental toxicity that is triggering their autoimmune condition. But there's really a lot of things that can be done if it's identified and not
Yeah.
just like, give you an antidepressant.
Well, that's it. My daughter said to me, I was on the phone with her, and I said, I've got to figure out what it is that I'm eating that's making my finger swell. And it's only one. It's so crazy. And she says, well, Mom, you could go to the doctor. Now, I'm not giving medical advice. So let me just say this. I'm not giving medical advice. But I said to her, I don't want a pill. I want to figure out what I need to stop eating, what I need to change in my diet, because it's something I'm putting in, or something like you said, it could also be something in the, could be a toxin that you
It
don't
could
even
be a
know about.
toxin. It could
Yeah.
be electromagnetic frequencies. Like all of us are on our devices all the time, and some people are very sensitive to
You know
those
what?
electromagnetic
Oh
frequencies.
my God. I totally have thought about this. Okay. Because I do this with this.
Oh, with that's the finger oh my
Yes.
gosh, that's so
Yes.
fascinating.
I know. And I've been, because I'm
Well,
so
maybe maybe
tuned.
maybe there's something, I don't know, maybe there's a glove or
You know what I
um
mean? I thought about this now, doctor.
I
Yeah,
mean, I don't think that's far-fetched
I
that
don't
there is
either.
some kind of way that your finger is reacting to those frequencies.
Yeah, because here's the deal. When you're so psychic, like I'm an empath and I have clear cognizance. And so when you're that in tune and you connect every day, you're picking up the frequencies, even though you do protect. And we just talked about that because I put out the energy to protect myself. but how much are we on our phones? Think about it. An email
Oh,
comes through, or a text comes through, or I have a
I
client.
mean, there is a conspiracy theory that I do believe in. Okay, I'll
Okay,
tell you
let's
this
talk
one.
about that.
Okay,
Okay.
so I believe that there is a concerted effort by the telecommunications industry to underplay the dangers of our cell phones and the wireless technology.
Yeah.
That it's the same as like with the cigarettes. It's the same, kind of all the data is there,
Alcohol.
and all the data is there, and it's not the safety
They're not telling us. They're not.
regulations are no, and the devices are only getting stronger, and the network's more powerful, and people
And
are
then you have
suffering.
this, and then you
I mean,
start.
there's different degrees of sensitivity. Like some people
Right.
don't seem to be as affected. I don't think it's good for anybody. We are electrochemical beings. There's like energy moving. That's how our cells are constantly whispering to each other. And these devices, they disrupt that. And like I always talk with my patients about, don't put your cell phone to your ear. Talk with it on speakerphone. Don't put it in your pocket if it's not on airplane mode. Don't put your laptop on your lap. There's like a principle that the closer it is to your body, the more disruptive it is to your organism.
Well, and you're right, because you know what? I can heal people through Zoom. Like I can shoot my energy out and you can probably feel it because my energy's strong. So you and I are exchanging energy right now. And I know I can do it because I've healed people on Zoom. So I know the energy goes through, just like radio waves, just like television, just like any of it, you know? That's crazy. I don't know the answer. A lot of people say get these what do they call them? Faraday cages to put your phone in, and I need to get one, I guess.
Well, I don't know if you have that. Can you touch it? Can you move the screen with
Well,
your finger?
I don't know, but now I'm really, as you and I are having this conversation, the more and more
Mhm.
I think that that's exactly
I
what's
think
wrong.
that, I mean, that to
Exactly what's
me,
wrong with.
if
Yeah.
that's the finger that you're using and
Yeah.
that's the finger that's having like
Well,
the
I use my right
particular.
hand. I use my right hand, and I always, yeah, well, either this one or this one, but this is the finger, and you can see how swelled it is and how it's turning. See how it's turning? It's so
Yep.
weird. Like the audience needs to know that. But when you have this kind of autoimmune, you start to think, okay, what am I putting in my body? Now, yesterday, I'll just throw this out there because we're talking about it. I got one of these. I won't say the brand, but I got a something Valley kind of bar and it was peanut butter. And I was like, oh, this will be good for me. It has protein. It won't have a lot of sugar or anything like that. And so I look at the back of it. I get home and I look at it and it's like, what do they call it? Hold on. I want to tell you what this is called. This is, it's engineered food. It's not
Like
in.
soy protein isolate or something.
Yeah, so what it says in here is that I'm reading because I was like, this is just crazy. It is contains bioengineered food ingredients.
Mhm.
And this is the stuff I'm talking about, especially when you have autoimmune. And then you buy something and you look at it and it says bioengineered food. Well, what is that?
I
And
mean,
then
we're best off not to buy processed and packaged foods, period. I
anything.
mean, I know it's like tremendous convenience, but the more you buy whole foods and prepare them yourselves, make your bars at home, you know
I
exactly what
know
you put
that's what
into
I'm
them.
gonna do.
Yeah.
Honest to God, you have to. It's true because if you don't, now I'll just be honest, when I go out to eat, I get sick almost all the time. So I do
Oh, it's
cook
so
for my.
common because they use the most inferior ingredients. You may, like at home, you may be mindful about, eating organic versions of those foods that are heavily sprayed, using oils that are healthful, and that's not the case in the restaurant because unless it's like a really high-end organic restaurant, in terms of profit margins, they're buying the cheapest things.
Well, it's all the additives that they're putting, it's the preservatives. It's really down to the preservatives that they're putting in things. And I agree with you. And it's not easy to eat nothing processed when you start to think about it and look around. Do you know what
Well,
it's
it
hard.
it it is
It's hard.
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to care for yourself in this environment.
Exactly. Well, Pluto is empowering us. I know that's right now is
Well, see,
happening.
like make like maybe like with
What?
Pluto and Aquarius will have some like really like big downloads about how to care for our bodies in a more healthful way.
Well, just
That
what we're
they'll
talking about right now. I mean, seriously, we worry about our water supply. We don't know what's in it. Everybody's out there trying to figure out how to purify their water. It's crazy. Food has gotten astronomical, but the cheap things are the worst things for you. So it's just
So
really
that's like such a disadvantage for people who have low income,
right,
like
right,
it's really like
right.
their health is like, they don't have the option of buying a $4 box of blueberries.
Exactly, exactly. Well, and I think it's back to basics. I think everything's got to kind of just fall and we go back to basics. I grew up on a farm and we grew our vegetables and my mom
Right.
canned and we froze things and it was great. It was actually fabulous to have blackberry cobbler in the middle of winter because you took the time to pick them and freeze them. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I don't know, I think it would bring back a lot of things that we've lost,
Mhm.
that humanity has lost. All right, so what's next for you? This
What's
is fabulous. What's next? What comes after this? What are you going to do now?
after this? Well, I actually I feel like I don't want to write more about psychiatry right now. Like I'm
Okay.
interested in exploring poetry.
Oh, very nice.
Yes.
I love that. I think that's really
Well,
awesome. I think it's awesome.
yeah.
Well, I just want everyone out there to know that this is a great book. It's Sacred Psychiatry. It is by Judy Suzanne Reis Tsafrir, and she is an MD. And there's a lot of terrific information in here to help people. It really helped me. It made me think. Woke me up.
Good.
Well, it did. I was like, okay, I've got to figure out what's going on here with the diet. And we just have to really pay attention what we put into our bodies. Is there anything you want to leave us with astrological that's coming up or anything that would be?
Well, there is like an event after this eclipse that just happened. There's another event, a big event that's coming up on the 20th. And astrological events, it's not necessarily on the day of, but it's kind of leading up to it. It's like a period afterwards. There's the planet Jupiter and the planet Uranus are coming together in the sky. And it's kind of like what we're talking about. Like there's like a paradigm shift coming, like some kind of different way of looking at things, something that's going to be outside the box and surprising and um, occasion us to look at things in a different way, and also potentially some kind of technology being released. It's just there's a lot of surprises coming down the pike.
I love it. Around April 20th. All right, we'll keep an eye out for that. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Enjoyed talking with you.
Yes, thank you for coming on the show. You guys, don't forget to pick up my book, Wake Up, The Universe is Speaking to You. This is the one that's at Barnes and Noble, and then I just relaunched. So this is what it looks like on Amazon if you're watching me on YouTube today. It's a nice introductory to spirituality. So you guys, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing everybody on my class on Saturday. Everyone have a great week. Take care and God bless.